Good morning, survivors of narcissistic and abusive personalities. I'm here with Ashley Kilgore this morning. Welcome, Ashley.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for joining me this morning. So Ashley is with Integrative Counseling Solutions, and recently she has been trained on our SNAP topics and the SNAP educational program. And she's using this to help a lot of her clients. So we are referring clients to Ashley as we've been pretty booked for a few months now. So Ashley's with Integrative Counseling Solutions, as I said. And what insurance do you take?
Oh, I take a lot of them. I take CareSource, Humana, Anthem, Optum, so like United Healthcare. I have it all. It's all listed on our website.
On
what
our website.
Insurance I
So
take, yeah.
she takes lots of different insurance, and she does have availability. So be sure to look up Ashley at Integrative Counseling Solutions. But Ashley, tell us about yourself. Tell us about your counseling superpowers. What are you especially good at?
So I am very interested in trauma and PTSD and working with survivors of those issues. And so I do a lot of creative interventions, a lot of trauma-informed training or treatment, and that's kind of where I like to be.
I think that's interesting because that's where I began as well, is in trauma and treating trauma, learning about trauma, and then I started to ask myself, who's inflicting the trauma? And then that's what led me to the cluster B personality. So, and then let's talk about, how did you decide, or why did you decide to add the SNAP topics to your list of specializations?
I think it's very similar to yours. I was noticing a lot of people, one of my clients said one of the things is they're in therapy because of people who won't go to therapy. So the people who are inflicting the trauma, the people who are inflicting the abuse. So as I was learning more about it, it was like, oh, making the connections, like, oh, this is where it's coming from.
Yeah, me too. And then why do you think that the SNAP topics are important for counselors to focus on?
Because I don't think there's enough awareness among mental health professionals. You hear a lot of stories of therapists, well-intentioned therapists, but pushing like towards forgiveness and reconciliation, and that just, to me, that just furthers that trauma experience. And so I think it's very important for clinicians to be aware of the cluster B personalities and how it affects the clients that they're working with.
Yeah, great. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are going to talk about reactive abuse. So reactive abuse is a tactic that's in the arsenal of abusive and manipulative personalities. And the reasons why abusers rely on these tactics, we're going to talk about 5 different reasons why they use it, and then we're going to give you a couple of examples of what reactive abuse looks and feels like. So abusers rely on reactive abuse first because it helps them shift the blame. You wind up looking like the bad guy in the end, and it also puts our self-concept into question. What do I mean by self-concept, and how that would put us, put that into question for us?
Well, it's how you view yourself, and if you have somebody telling oh, you're being abusive and you're crazy and you're hurtful and you're causing all this damage to me, it causes us to question ourselves. It's like, oh, maybe I am the bad person. Maybe I need to see a therapist. Maybe I need to work on this, and it shifts the responsibility onto to you.
Yeah, right, exactly. So another reason that they use it is because it does feed that victim narrative. Remember that they're always the victim. They're always the victim. And so this helps them collect and manufacture so-called, evidence of your bad behaviors, and therefore they are the victim. And then another thing it helps them with is with their smear campaign later on. They have examples that they can use of your bad behavior. Can you add to that in terms of how that affects the smear campaign, and then also how that helps them maintain that victim narrative?
Well, when they're telling other people, this is what this person has done to me, it garners sympathy for them, and you hear, oh, 2 wrongs don't make a right, and you had some responsibility in this too, and it, like you said, it furthers that smear campaign.
Yeah. Man, there's a lot of reasons that they use this.
Mm-hmm.
It's an important one, actually. We're going to add this as more of a highlighted topic to our SNAP topics.
Mm-hmm.
Another reason that they use it is because it's kind of a form of gaslighting. So in other words, they are pushing you, poking you. You respond, and then they go, well, that wasn't, that was kind of disproportionate.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're overreacting. All I did was say, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And look at how you're responding. And when actually what they did was bad, and you are responding proportionately,
Mm-hmm.
So then you start thinking, well, maybe it wasn't that big of a deal. What he said or what she said wasn't that bad. And so, they're gaslighting you.
Mm-hmm.
Another one is that it gives them material for triangulation. So remember that abusive people will use triangulation as one of their number one tactics, and that's when it's part of the smear campaign too. All these things kind of work together, and they're walking around telling people stories about you and how crazy you were, and the day that you tried to hit him with your car when actually he stood in front of your car so you couldn't drive away, and things of that nature. Can you think of how they would use this for triangulation, other ways that they would use it?
I mean, that's kind of what I was thinking as well, just furthering that and especially when maybe they introduce a new relationship, like, oh, my ex was crazy, and,
Right.
and they did this, and they
Right.
abused me, and so that, then that other person is like, well, I better, I'm never going to do that, and oh my gosh, that sounds so awful, and
Yeah, exactly. And then the next thing you know, she's actually doing those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, you're abusive too.
Yeah, you're the same way.
And then this has an effect on our brain because it's part of that abusive cycle. It's part of that, those tactics that create a trauma bond, and they also kind of brainwash us in a way because we start really seeing things from their perspective instead of from our perspective, and we start to believe these bad things about ourselves, that we're the problem. And then that's when we need them, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That's when they come to therapy and they're like, yeah, I drink too much, and I have had bad behaviors, and he tries, he did that bad thing, but he's better since then, and I'm really the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And we're sitting there going like, no.
No.
You're not the problem because you're here.
Mm-hmm.
You're here trying to figure it out and to get better, and they're not. And then if they do come in, they're going to try to use it for triangulation. If they come into a session, they always try to, they put on a show for us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anyhow, so let's give a couple of examples of what reactive abuse looks like. So the example that I use is picture a monster, like a Jekyll and Hyde type monster, where there's the good version and the bad version. And the bad version is a monster. And what happens is when no one's around, the monster's out. And you are getting brutalized, poked at, you're getting bullied, you're getting, they're purposefully mischaracterizing you and your intentions while you do things. They're saying really mean, like below the belt type stuff. Oh man, they say the meanest stuff. They say mean things. And they might say mean things about people you care about. They might do little sort of vague threats of, well, if you leave, I'm keeping the dog, and we both know I don't like the dog, so I wonder what's going to happen when you're not here. They just say shit, right? And so then you start to, it's building the anger, the frustration, and it's building up in you, and you eventually will get so angry or so frustrated, or you'll finally get the courage to say something back or to do something back. So you puff up and you finally are going to battle this monster, right? And then and then it's not a monster, it's the nice guy, and he's pointing the finger at you going, look, you're the monster. But he got you there. She got you there. This person frustrated you to the point where you started behaving in ways that was not how you really are, truly. It's out of character for you. And then they villainize you because of that behavior that they themselves created. Can you can you come up with a way that you describe that to people that really works?
Yeah, so the metaphor that I like to use is, imagine that somebody is just really abusing an animal. Like, they're kicking them, they're hitting them, they're screaming at them, and the animal runs away to try to get away from this person, and they get backed into a corner, and this person is still coming after them and still, trying to hurt them or abuse them, and the animal turns around, and what do corner animals do is they attack, they bite, they scratch, and so all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, this is an aggressive animal, and we need to do something about this, and animal control is called, and the animals haul off away, and everyone's like, oh, this poor person, and they were just trying to help this animal, and look what happened.
Right, she's off her meds. She had a little bit too much to drink. She's having the cops will show up, and he'll be saying to the cops, cool and calm as a cucumber, by the way, went from monster to like, Mr. fucking Rogers. And, the cops are looking at him like, and he's like, yeah, I'm so sorry that you're here. I know it's a waste of your time. She's having a hard time right now, and, things just got out of hand, but it's okay now. We got her medicine, that kind of stuff, and making you look crazy. So if you have experienced that type of behavior, those sorts of scenarios in the relationship that you're in, and this can also come at the hands of parents, abusive parents who needle and nag and needle and nag and needle and nag over dumb stuff, and then the kid like, mess, stop, quit commenting on my body, quit commenting on my clothes, quit commenting on my hair, leave me alone. Well, you're disrespectful. No, you were being super mean and inappropriate, and now I'm responding to your behavior. Anyhow, so hopefully this has been helpful. Ashley Kilgore, Integrative Counseling Solutions. She's a great therapist. She knows a lot about grief and a lot about trauma, and now she knows a lot about the SNAP topics for survivors of narcissistic and abusive personalities. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.
Bye.
Bye. And now we sit and try to turn it off for about 5 minutes while everybody's still watching, and that's all.